What's going on, everybody? This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the forex market. This is another episode of Trade with Travis. I want to go ahead and get through the disclaimer real quick, and then after that, we'll take a look at what's happening with the market and see if there's any buying opportunities in the market as we take a look at it right now. So, reach possible deadlock. What is this? Everybody, give me one quick second. I'm sorry. Let's see. All right, here we go. So I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that forex trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind and understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you can end up making money today. With that being said, for some reason, one of my login accounts is not necessarily working, which is kind of awkward. But I hope everybody's doing very well. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with the economic calendar. The market's about to open up real quick. Even if I don't take a trade within my VPN, I can still be able to take a trade on my phone. Speaking of that, I ended up taking a trade on US 30. I'm going to go through that real quick. The market is about to open up, but I think today it may end up being a continuation of what ended up happening from yesterday. We will get into that very shortly when it comes down to this overall move. But we haven't had consolidation yet. And I don't think that we probably might end up having consolidation because the market has broken out of this long-term consolidation area the last time that we ended up speaking. We talked about how this market ended up breaking out of this large-scale consolidation one time before. It has happened again. At this particular point, the move could go all the way up to 32,850 when it comes down to that. When it comes down to that overall move, which is another 1,000 points of movement that could be potentially made based off of being able to get to this point right up here. So I do think that the market could make that move. Now, will it be a one-day thing? Probably not, but we are in an area where this market could potentially run a lot. So we want to make sure that we end up talking about that overall. Um, we will go through the big three, but I do want to talk about what's happening with these overall markets real quick. As we're 5 minutes away from the stock market actually opening up, so allow me to be able to get through US 30, Nas 100, DAX, and everything else. We end up going through those, talking about those, and just figuring out what's going to end up being the best situation for everyone that decides to be able to get in on this live stream. If you do decide to be able to make a move off of that, but we will start off with US 30 first. So let's go ahead and take a look at it from a weekly, then daily perspective, and then after that we'll move forward from there. All right, so from a weekly perspective, this market is starting to push up to the upside. So that means that taking a look at what ended up happening when the market went all the way down to 30,000, actually ended up going down to 29.5. Right now, that's showing as being the bottom. We do have that being basically a fractal low at this particular point that matched up with these overall lows once before. Now, the market ended up retracing to the 618 the last time I ended up doing it. So the question is this just another minor retracement? Here goes our long-term outer trend line right there from that last move from 29.5 all the way up to this point. There could be there's a potential pocket when it comes down to where the market actually is going that could get all the way up at least to 32,730. for its overall movement to the upside if it does continue to go from there. Obviously, we're in this low volume area. Anytime that you're in a low volume area, typically you end up seeing large, massive movements. So you want to make sure that you can be able to take advantage of that. We take a look at it from a daily perspective. We can see from a daily perspective, we are getting close to the sell zone, but keep in mind, we have been in a long-term consolidation. Anytime that you're in consolidation, anytime that you're in consolidation, taking a look at a stochastic or anything else like that really doesn't matter. It has to reset itself before you can be able to truly use that to your advantage when it comes down to movement in the first place. So I am interested in being able to see what's going to end up happening based off of this movement. End up doing about $8,000 yesterday on US 30. Based off of that movement that end up breaking out. If you're part of the Carter Cal Academy, you end up getting the overall pending orders from those moves. You want to be a part of the Carter Cal Academy, all you have to do is go to cartercalcapital.com/start here and get a copy of those get a copy of those pending orders that I end up taking each and every night. But currently, right now, what we're looking at is this: we are outside of this consolidation area. We talked about that last week. Talked about that the week before. We've been exploiting low volume nodes pretty much in this market the whole time. And this is a very large low volume node that this market could potentially end up going to. We can see that the first area where you may end up having a little bit of a struggle to be able to break out of is 32,688. But if you're looking at that, that's 800 points from here at this particular point. So we do have a move to be able to take. The question is the market ready to be able to make that move when it comes down to doing it? The market, from an hourly standpoint, is in the buy zone, which is very good. For 2 minutes away from now, the market is currently at 816. I end up getting in at 809. The market has retraced for the last about 6 to 7 hours when it comes down to movement. On the 2 hours, not necessarily there, but from a hourly perspective, it is. The only problem that I have is that I have gotten in a little bit too early on this move because the market has not broken the counter trend line break to the upside. Now, what could happen is that the market could reject off of this overall movement and push down and then keep on going further. My stop loss is going to end up being very tight. I'm going to get out at 31,730 31,730 if this market ends up going against me when it comes down to movement. So I'm going to modify this position real quick, 31,730. So if the market does fall down and does turn into a bad situation, at least I know that I'll lose about 80 points on that and be okay with that overall movement. Now, take profit locations. If you're looking at being able to have a take profit location based off the hour, there's a couple areas that we could be able to look at being able to run to. Now, keep in mind, we are in this large space of overall movement. Market has just moved up 35 points already. We are at this point to where 32, the last consolidation that we end up having, the support was at 32,174. If we end up getting past that area, obviously we're looking at this other consolidation that we end up seeing the tops of, which was at 32,640. You want to get out a little bit earlier, I would say 32,500 will probably end up being one of those good spaces to be able to get out of if you want to be able to look at it like that. But if you want to ride this movement based off of this volume and where this market could potentially go at 32,850 would be the long-term area. So a couple spots to be able to get out at. You want to be truly safe. I would say 32,500 would be the first area to be able to get out. 32,680 will end up being the second area. I'm going to look at trying to be I'm not going to say be greedy, but I'm going to say from a long-term perspective, if we're looking at this trade, if this trade can be able to get out and kind of make a movement, I would say look at 32,680 as the move from a long-term perspective. From a short-term perspective, there's really no bad spot to get out at. Well, from a short-term perspective, I'll say 32,160 will be the area where I will look at being able to get out short-term. Okay, so this is a live trade I'm actually in right now. I got it based off of counter trend line break. The market is in a free run space. Obviously, we see that we have low volume if this market continues to push up because we end up having good earnings last week. We may end up seeing that this market may end up moving, currently up 25 points off of this movement. So once again, this is a live trade as we're talking about it right now from this overall order. So I'm modifying my position. Like I said before, I'm just placing my take profit. Let's see, where did I say I'll place my take profit at? If I truly want to be safe, I say 30. I'm going to say 32,620. 32,620 will end up being a long-term position. Now, once again, the thing has to be able to break past that counter trend line break. If it doesn't break past and it ends up pushing back to the downside, then this will be a quick loss, and I get rid of it very quickly because the market hasn't necessarily reset and it has not broken that counter trend line break yet. So there it is. It's rejecting right now at this particular point. Keep in mind, this was a low entry when it came down to when I ended up getting in. So if I end up losing on this one, I'm only losing maybe 30 to 40 points. Or in this case, I'm sorry, I'm only losing 50 points when it comes down to this move. I'm not necessarily upset about that. You got to be quick and decisive if you end up making a move like this, especially because the market ended up having that strong move yesterday. We are looking at the market basically do a little bit of a reset if that ends up happening. So I end up going with a small 1% entry. Now, to truly know that this trade is not going to work, obviously, if this market ends up breaking below this counter trend line, breaking below, then after that you could be able to exit, and then after that be able to go. If you did not enter in, don't enter in until the market ends up breaking the counter trend line, breaking fully, being able to close above it. So there we go. When it comes down to the first move, so might end up getting stopped out on this one. Want to see how it ends up working based off of the point of control, and then after that we'll see how we end up going from there. But this is definitely not the same lot size that I ended up placing in yesterday. Let's see. Yeah, definitely did not place the same lot size in from yesterday. Let's see. And give it a little bit of time. The 15 minutes getting to the sell zone. So a couple things are going kind of weird. One, the daily is getting close to the sell zone. You look at what's happening with the 2 hour. The 2 hour is basically turning over. Matter of fact, I don't like this move as much anymore, just based off of what I'm seeing right here. There's no true retracement at this particular point. Looking at this, I'm actually going to exit early off of this one, just based off of what I just seen. I am going to end up closing off on this one. I'll take the 40-point loss on this one. Okay, so took a loss on that one. I didn't want that one to go full through. I'm gonna wait a little bit more on this one. The reason why I'm waiting is because of this. Yesterday we ended up having free run space outside of this consolidation. So you had pretty much from when the market ended up going into consolidation and from that point of control at 31,200 for the market to be able to pop up, and it ran from 31,200 all the way up to basically 32, and then after that started to retrace. If we think about that movement just yesterday, how much it basically was, you're talking about over 900 points of movement. Now, with a 900-point move, typically what you want to end up seeing is that the market ends up retracing just a little bit more than about 400 points of that overall move. It has not done that as of yet. And because it has not done that as of yet, trying to jump in a little bit early on for this one, plus the market hasn't broke the counter trend line break, is a bad probability trade. So what I'm going to end up looking to do when it comes down to this one is actually wait for the market to be able to make a U-turn and be able to do that. Kind of like what we talked about based off of the 15-minute, but I'm going to do it based off of the hour and be a little bit more patient on a move like this. Even though it's in the buy zone on the hour, it's definitely not in the buy zone on the 2 hour. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient on this one. All right, so that is that one. Let's go with Nas 100. Let's see. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll just read the message. Now, keep in mind, if this market turns around and break the counter trend line break because we end up only getting rid of or only had a small percentage on that trade, then I may end up getting back in. But currently right now, I need to see this thing break this counter trend line break. It has to break this counter trend line break before considering to be able to get into that trade. Now, if that means that I'll lose some money off of that, then whatever. It did not break these lows, which is a good thing. And we can see that the buyers are actually starting to buy it back at this particular point. But I want to be I would rather be a little bit more cautious on this one based off of the move that ended up happening yesterday. We already done made money. Pretty much done made the money for the week yesterday, so we can be a little bit more patient off of this one. That's Nas 100. I'll just wait for the counter trend line break to be able to happen, and then after that we'll go from there. So That was US 30. Sorry about that. Nas 100. From a weekly perspective, same moves. We had that counter trend line break up to the top a couple weeks ago. We've seen the market fall all the way down to 11,000. Since then, the market has been retracing. So currently, right now, I will say that the market is short-term bullish. Now, overall, the long-term movement is to the downside still, but it's still short-term bullish based off of the last 2 weeks. We take a look at it from a daily perspective. It has broken outside of consolidation as well. It is fully outside of consolidation. Typically, remember when you end up breaking, when there's a breakout, typically there will end up being a retest. There has not been a full retest on Nas as of yet, but there has been a breakout. So we may end up seeing today that the market may end up retesting this overall area first before being able to make a move. But if we look at what's happening from a daily perspective, just based off of bottom profile, we can see that we have some free run area all the way up to 12,470. So we got about another 200 points of overall movement if this market does break up to the upside that we could be able to take advantage of when it comes down to being able to look at that. US 30 is at 796. It's at 796. I want to see how that kind of reacts based off of that. Let's go into the 1 hour. We take a look at the 1 hour market on this one. It's doing a better job of being able to break the counter trend line break. I guarantee if I look at it based off of 15 minute, we'll see that it has broken. Yes, it has. Well, that's an hour. Based off of the 15 minute, it has broken. We do have a counter trend line break to the upside. We are running in this free space. I will take this trade on Nas 100. Let's see. There's an open pocket area, especially if the market ends up breaking past 12,337. That will end up being a pretty good move because we are out of this overall area to the upside. I will go ahead and take a look at being able to take a buy on this move. Same deal. Stop loss is going to end up being below the overall lows when it comes down to that. US 30 is back at 810. I got in at 809. I don't know why this is not reflecting what I'm seeing. Okay, it's at 805. We do have a counter trend line. We do have a counter trend line break. It needs to hold for the next 6 minutes to be truly a move or a counter trend line break hold when it comes down to that movement. Remember, anytime that there's a breakout, typically there ends up being a retest. But if you end up catching it right when it starts to break out, then you're pretty good when it comes down to that movement. Stop loss will end up being below the overall swing lows of these overall areas. If we look at where this market actually is when it comes down to this point, if it breaks above 12,316, then we may end up having a little bit more free flow space when it comes down to this movement. We talked about this open pocket last week. That open pocket will end up going to 12,470. So if you want to look at being able to take that move, there you go. Hopefully you didn't lose on that first move that I ended up talking about just a little bit earlier. It's at 796. I ended up taking a quick loss on US 30. But take profit to be 12,000. I'm going to say 12,004. Let's say 12,470 when it comes down to that move. Now, keep in mind, Nas was a little bit late to the party on the breakout yesterday. DAX and US 30 end up making their moves faster than what Nas ended up doing yesterday. So there may end up being a little bit more room to the upside on this pair compared to what ended up happening with Nas and everything else. But US 30 and DAX. But as long as US 30 does not break above the 12,800 area, I would be a little bit worried about what happens with Nas. It may end up breaking out, but I don't think that it may end up being like a strong move all the way through. But it's something that you can be able to keep in mind as you're going through and taking a look at this overall pair. Currently, right now, up 3 points on this move. If you are truly being conservative about when to be able to get in, I would say you got to wait 4 minutes to be able to see if this market is going to truly hold. If you feel comfortable about being able to get in right now, there is a true counter trend line break as we speak when it comes down to this movement. So just keep that in mind as we go through and take a look at it. Now, the reason why I am excited about this trade, just like the last few trades, is because one, we've broken out of consolidation. Once you end up breaking out of consolidation, typically you end up having some free run space. We are seeing just a little bit of hesitation right in here, which is this last high volume node. If it ends up breaking above that, then after that we have this area of free run space that we can be able to get into, which is that open pocket that I ended up talking about a little bit earlier. Okay, so there you go. When it comes down to that, Nas 100, I will look at being able to. I got in at 12,299 and 12,302 respectively. Once again, it has to hold above that counter trend line break. If it doesn't hold above that counter trend line break, then um, just like the previous trades, this one may end up being an early exit on this trade. But as long as it breaks above this counter trend line break and hold above this counter trend line break, I'm pretty cool on it. Stop loss on that one will end up being at 12,210. So 90 points between all of those. 12,210 will end up being a stop loss on those. I would like to be able to see a little bit more continuation when it comes down to this. It would be perfect if it does happen. If it doesn't, then obviously I'll be quick to exit and we'll just be able to move forward. Now, we can see what possibly may end up happening based off of what's happening with US 30. US 30 has rejected, which means to me that this may end up rejecting as well when it comes down to that movement. If I see a sharper move when it comes down to US 30, currently right now it's at 31,745. If I see a sharper move with that one, then I'll probably end up getting rid of some of my pieces or getting rid of some of my moves off of this one because that may end up being the same thing to happen. I don't get caught up on those moves like that. Um, I would love for this thing to be able to hold, but typically if US 30 is going to end up making this move, Nas is probably going to end up coming behind it. Currently right now, down 10 points on that as we were taking a look at it. If it breaks below this counter trend line break before this 1 minute and 30 seconds over with, I'm automatically canceling the trade. Once again, if it breaks below this counter trend line break before this 1 minute, 30 something seconds there, I'm automatically canceling out the trade. For people that end up getting in, for people that have not got in, I would say wait for that next 90 seconds to see how this market's going to end up reacting. And then after that, be able to make your decision from there. So as we go through that, I'm going to take a look at DAX. DAX will be the last one that I will take a look at today. Unless there's some trading pairs that y'all would like for me to be able to take a look at. And we would move forward from there. Let's see. Let's hold off for a minute real quick. I want to see what's happening with this. So we do have a strong rejection, but this is pushing up. So obviously it's not it's not a complete science when it comes down to that. Obviously, technology stocks and industrial stocks move in different directions all the time. But typically, when one makes a sharp move, the other one typically follows. So I will say that. 20 seconds. While that's happening, I'm going to pull up DAX real quick. DAX, there's no trade at this particular point. End up getting the buys off of this move. It's falling inside of a pocket to the downside. So we'll see what's happening based off of that. All right, here we go. 305. All right, new candle close above. It's safe to be able to take the trade. Question is, obviously, stop loss will end up being below 12,210. So I'm entrenched in it. We'll see what happens when it comes down to this move. Let's see. It's not US 30 showing signs that it's going to continue to keep on going the way that it's going. It's at 760 right now. DAX, I'm not going to end up looking at. DAX has a bigger pocket, but I think it needs a little bit more time to be able to run. So this will be the trade of the day. When it comes down to it, Nas 100 end up taking a buy at 12,300. Take profit is going to end up being at 12,470. Assuming we can fulfill this pocket to the upside. Let's see if I can be able to get some more information so everybody can be able to see it. I'm going to see if we can be able to capture some of this freeway space that we end up having from right here to right here. If we can be able to do that, then that'd be great. If not, then obviously it's going to be a low percentage trade on this. Well, I think it's a high percentage trade, but I only went in with right around 3% of my account on this trade. So we'll see how it ends up going. If it does keep on going well, then that'd be great. If not, then it is what it is. Stop loss will end up being at 12,210, and be able to go from there. Now, keep in mind, as this market is basically moving the way that it is, make sure that you end up running your trail stops. Um, yeah, make sure that you end up running your trail stops, especially if you have it on your terminal. Have your terminal basically run the trail stop right around 40 or 50 points. So you don't necessarily have to be in front of the computer the whole time to be able to do it. Remember, when you're doing any type of void trade or pocket trade or vortex trade, in which we end up calling it, yeah, you want the market to be able to go to that freeway space. And typically, if it does hit that number, you can be able to see this market kind of move. But at the same time, you still want to protect yourself. And if you're not going to be in front of the computer by using the trailing stop, the trailing stop can be able to help you out or can be able to put you into the best position possible by just saying, okay, this is the amount of points that I want this market to be able to trail. So once it ends up hitting those points, then go ahead and just run it for me and make sure that I end up having a break even win. So for me, I'm doing 40 points. So that means that as soon as this thing ends up hitting 40 points in profit, it will move the stop loss to break even. And then after that, start trailing from there. In our automation system, the FX Striker Max, we have something called trap points, in which essentially once you end up getting into the trade, once the market ends up hitting that trap point, then it will automatically move the trail stop for you and lock in at least 85% of your overall trade and guide it all the way into the end of the take profit zone. So that's always nice. We end up taking a trade on Euro United States dollar. Let me take a look at what ended up happening with that. That was a while ago. We ended up looking at that on, I think we ended up looking at that on last week sometime. I think Target already got hit. That was on my ideas. I don't look at Euro United States dollar all that much, but I've seen a big pocket, and anytime that I look at pockets, and I like being able to see the market move. End up taking a trade right here at 1,001.0061. That was that consolidation area. We see that little free space run area. See what happened to this. Okay, well, good. Take profit has already been hit. We'll take a look at this one real quick, and I'll take a look at what's happening with Nas real quick, and then after that, we'll call it a day. All right, I'm going to keep that right there, so when I come back to it, we can take a look at it. So since then, okay, that's not the chart that I was looking at. Was it a window? There we go. So end up taking a profit based off of this first move. We end up having this free space from here to here that we end up getting out. As soon as it ends up hitting, it ends up rejecting, which is a very good thing to be able to look at. Now, typically what you want to be able to see is a little bit of consolidation before getting into the next move. So this is truly your free space because the market ended up running all the way up to, let's see, there wasn't a slight consolidation right there. I'm going to call this your free space from right here to right here. Then after that, we end up having consolidation right here. Market ended up falling back within this overall pocket. Where did it fall back to? It fell back to this natural high volume node, and then after that has been in this little bit of a space right here. So there's no trade to be able to take on Euro United States dollar until the market ends up breaking out of this overall high at 1.2065, which kind of matches up with that overall zone. So if we zoom out and take a look at this a little bit more, anything above this high, 1.2080, will probably end up being the next move, the next big space that we'll be trying to go after. We end up being right here. You can place in a pending order. You can place in a pending order at 1.0275. And then after that, look at being able to get out right around 1.0425 and be able to make the most out of that. you want to be a little bit more cautious about it, you can stay away from this consolidation zone that we end up having back on June 30th, and be able to get out a little bit earlier at 1.0370, which would be another 100 points for its overall movement if you're interested in being able to take that. All right, so there you go. That is Euro United States dollar. I would say a pending order. If you're looking at doing a pending order, that pending order will be at this green line, will be your entry. Stop loss will end up being just below the overall low of the consolidation that ended up happening. I will place this as an idea once you get close to being able to get to that point. And then after that, take profit will end up being at 103.80. You can take it all the way up to 104.20 for its overall spots for its Euro United States dollar. Okay, that is my time for today. Obviously, we're looking at NAS 100 make its move. If you're in NAS 100, congratulations. Just keep on riding it out as much as you possibly can. Currently, right now, if it breaks this pocket area, there's a larger pocket area. If it breaks above this highs at 12,335, 12,335 will probably end up being a pretty good area to be able to look at it based off of the breakout of that movement. The question is it going to stay strong when it comes down to that? Now, keep in mind, we haven't had consolidation yet. So if this market does struggle to be able to break this overall area at 325, then I will look at saying cut it short, take your money, see, watch the consolidation actually be able to start. And then after that, placing another pending order outside of that consolidation area. Obviously, we're looking at this little window right here. If that does happen, because we end up having a little bit of consolidation a little bit earlier today. So if that does happen, and it keeps on rejecting like it is, I may end up taking profit, and then I just place a pending order because I don't like trading inside of consolidation. For the people that's been around me in these sessions, you know that I hate trading inside of consolidation. There's no reason to trade inside of consolidation. There's no reason to fight with anybody when it comes down to these movements. And right now, it's already done showed that there is consolidation in that spot. So to be honest, I'm actually going to end up take the little bit of profit that I have in here, and I'm actually just going to wait until the market ends up getting out of this spot. So I'm closing on this trade right now. I actually just closed on that trade right there because of that movement, because of that issue right there. So I just know the consolidation. For some people that's still in that trade, I can understand why you would stay in that trade. That makes it makes sense based off a counter trend line break, but I'm seeing consolidation. I'm seeing that we just rejected off and we just turned this into consolidation. Remember, July is a month that is full of consolidation. Happens all the time. But there goes your support, there goes your resistance. Market ends up hitting support twice right here. It has rejected off of resistance. It fell back and inside of here. That's true consolidation now. So the pocket has closed up just a little bit more. Now the pocket will end up being from this breakout area to the actual spot that we said that we're going to get out at. From the overall spot. So I'm going to place him, I'll look at being able to place in pending orders in there from that position. But like always, if you like what we end up doing, please make sure that you like the Carter Cow Capital business page. Please make sure that you end up tapping into what we end up doing, clicking on like, click on share for everything that we end up doing from here. We can see that US 30 has rejected. We're seeing that this market is starting to reject inside of here. Wouldn't surprise me that it breaks below this line, but now we have an area to where we know that we have true consolidation when it comes down to this movement. I truly like getting into a trade outside of the consolidation when the market is breaking outside of the consolidation when it comes down to high volume nodes. So we'll have another area to be able to get back in, even though today's session was a loss of a session between both trades combined. I'm totally fine with that. Because there's a better area to be able to make more money off of. Like always, trade your plan. Everyone, I see y'all in the next session. Thanks for being able to pop in with me.